information in the future. So with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to do some introductions, but I will not be introducing the panelists. Instead, I'm actually going to have each of you go down the list, just beginning with Caitlin and answering the two questions of where do you work and where do you work? So Caitlin, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Cunningham, and I work at Horrocks Engineering, and I work there as a structural EIT, or a structural engineer in training.
Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin. And then Vaughn.
Hi there, Vaughn Sudworth. I work at Mission Support and Test Services. That's the contractor for the Department of Energy out at the Nevada National Security Site. So I'm a senior principal project manager. I pretty much do a lot of different things from project management to engineering.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then Rish.
Hi, I'm Rish Paul, and I'm at Invenzion. I'm the CTO and also an executive technologist in residence at Invenzion.
Great. Thank you all for joining us today. How this event is going to commence is I'm going to pull up some questions and prompt each of you to answer them. I'll sort of kind of tag you all in so we know who will take the floor for each question. If you're not ready, just go ahead and say like, hey, can we skip over me for now? But I'll basically prompt the questions and then kind of tag each of you in, so that each of you have the opportunity to answer. And that's how it'll work. And for participants, if you happen to have any additional questions on top of the ones that we're asking, feel free to drop those in the chat and I'll prompt the panelists. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so these questions are related to education and training. So we're going to start with what type of education or training did you need to get your position? And if you have a degree, is it relevant to your current work? So let's go ahead and start with Caitlin.
Yes, I do. What type of education I need for my position is you need to have at least a bachelor's at my current work. Because an engineering training is someone who is going towards to be a professional engineer, so they're not expecting you necessarily to have a master's or PhD at that time. I do have my master's, and actually it is relevant to my work, unlike my first degree, which is entertainment engineering, which does not have such relevancy to my work, other than it helps me figure out how to plan my projects out, because entertainment is fast moving. Ding.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Caitlin. And then Vaughn, let's go ahead and have you go next.
Hi, yes, I've got a mechanical engineering as a bachelor's, and I have an MBA as a master's degree. Gosh, I can't even describe to you the diverse portfolio that we have. I think engineering and business both teach you how to both manage and to look at the technical products that you're building. We do subcritical experimentation at the site. So we haven't done nuclear testing since '92. So what we do, the contractor, we smash a little bit of plutonium together and look for the blue spark. And predicated on that, you know if the material is still good. So we can certify our stockpile. We also do implosion physics. We have a tunnel complex that's almost 1,000 foot below ground out of the test site, where we do implosion physics, where we smash plutonium as well. So yeah, the degree definitely has something to do with it. Once you got the degree, you get your foot in the door, and from there you grow your career as you see fit.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then last but not least, Rish, go ahead and take the floor.
Sure. So I've been into my bachelor's for computer science for a couple of years, but I have not completed it because I've had almost 10 years in technology training, otherwise in industry. And in the technology field, it is important that you have knowledge and skill. So I never really found the time to complete my bachelor's degree at the time. So I've been always extremely busy getting and innovating the new edge technologies that we work with. So that's my education is partially completed in terms of bachelor's. Although training, I've trained, self-trained, and also trained through many other courses and with other industry professionals in blockchain and also in certain cloud computing technologies. So that is overall my experience in that.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think we have a nice diverse group of, panelists today. So, I feel like we'll have a lot of opportunity to hear multiple perspectives. So let's move on to the next set of questions. So this set of questions, or these set of questions, are related to career trajectory. So talk about your career trajectory. How long have you been in this field? And then what has your career path looked like so far? So certainly, feel free to take some time to walk through your career journey if it's been lengthy, if you've done a lot of different things, emphasize any of the areas of your background that you'd like to. And we'll go ahead and begin with Vaughn on this one.
All right, my goodness. Let me see, where do I start? I started at Texas Instruments in electronics. I designed integrated circuits and printed circuit boards. I worked on everything from the global positioning system. This was going through college, so I started out as a tech, and I went to North Texas State. Got my engineering degree, went to the Air Force, flew jets, peace broke out, the wall fell down. I got an engineering job instead. So I got to fly for a year, which was cool. So after that, I got into aircraft maintenance. So I worked on aircraft. So my first gig, and remember, I have a mechanical engineering degree. So I was working on the Stealth, the F-117 Stealth fighter, and I got assigned to the software upgrade. So I got to do Carnegie Mellon and 2767A software. So for like 3 years I did nothing but software. Then after that I worked on the aircraft itself and all the different products on the aircraft. So I ran the depot. I also worked on the SR-71, the U-2, the F-22, the Joint Strike Fighter. Then I came out here and now I'm working nuclear career path. And out here I've done everything from search to where you look for a dirty bomb or a lost radioactive source. So I worked over at the Remote Sensing Laboratory, and then from there I went over and I worked the Joint Actinide Shock Physics Facility. And then from there I worked at UNA, and now I'm working non-proliferation programs. So non-proliferation, if you have another country and you're not allowed to go look in that country, how can you figure out what they're doing from afar? So that's the non-proliferation phenomenology. So I've got a pretty diverse background. And the neat thing about this job, at least at the test site, if you don't like your job, you can change jobs every year. And there are so many different jobs. It's pretty incredible. Everything from professional engineer, building buildings, electrical. We have our own power grid. It's like your own third world country. We have water systems, sewage systems. So we have everything from mechanical to facilities. We pretty much got all. We even have aircraft, so it's quite diverse. Anyway, that's kind of my storied past.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure you're going to get some questions based on all that you've done. But Rish, go ahead and take the floor for your first question.
Sure. Thank you, Juan. Very interesting experience. I started out a few years before I was in high school, and I started out with internet sales, selling wireless internet at the time, and then somebody introduced me as a computer maintenance technician, and I came in to the field, was working with a lot of enterprises at the time, taking contracts to do their annual computer maintenance. At that point, I was working with another gentleman, and they said that we were setting up across a few different companies at the time we had. I started off independently at the time and started into computer maintenance, then going into government contracting for the same computer maintenance. But then I was getting very tired of doing computer maintenance because it was like very dry for me at the time to continue doing that. Then I looked into opportunities for software by the time I was in high school, and I started out working with a bank to develop a multiple branch management software for them. That was my break into the software industry, and from that point onwards, it was always pointed towards cutting edge technologies. Because when we were with the bank, they got in and told me that they were looking to integrate an artificial intelligence agent into the banking and trading part of their practice. And that's when I started with AI, and I completed high school, went into UMass Lowell. And during those years, AI was picking up. So as AI picked up, I primarily focused on that with LTE technologies. And then once it was a couple of years into software already, so I was trying to see if there was a scope into hardware, because I was really always fascinated by developing new hardware, and it was never in my reach at the time. So it was very, very fascinating to me. So I had the opportunity to go to China and work with Foxconn Technologies. So we manufactured wireless thin client devices, which was very cutting edge at the time. And now they're very common in most corporate and school environments where they use end computing. I'm sure some of you must have heard or seen them. So where they use a centralized server to process all these. So that is something we developed. And from that point onwards, I got briefly into telehealth, and that was just as a short endeavor, part of my endeavor into blockchain. And over the last 5 years, I've been into blockchain and edge technologies in the public and private sector. So I architect, develop, and deploy systems across public sector and also public-private partnerships.
Both of you with really extensive and super interesting backgrounds. I think we all appreciate the diversity. So Caitlin, last but not least, go ahead and take it away.
So my career path is actually rather odd. I turned on my camera because everyone else was. I started out in theater. So I was a theater technician, and I was actually doing stage management and that sort of thing. And decided that I loved engineering. So I went into engineering in the entertainment field. And then I fell in love with structures, which made me start looking at structural companies. I also, while getting my structural degree, ended up working at UNLV for sales management, because I decided that the skill most engineers lacked was talking to other humans. So I decided going into sales would help me get out and learn how to do the person-to-person talking, presenting, and knowing how to sell yourself on the field, which it did. And it was a lot of fun, which is what helped me get into my current job at Horrocks. I went from at Horrocks being the plan checker, making sure all the edits were done, to I moved up to making my own plans, and then I was a lead designer. I'm currently the lead designer for a couple bridges up in Reno. Lead designer does not mean professional engineer. It means someone else has to stamp my plans, but I am doing the math, which is the fun and hard part. And my career path has been fairly smooth in that regard. Looking forward, it will probably be another 2 years until I get my PE stamp, which will let me be the person checking other people's work. And I've only been in my current job for 6 months. So it's a pretty quick trajectory, as if you know what you're doing, they will throw you quite quickly into the fire. And I think it's a great fun because my particular company is actually very helpful in reminding you when you get things wrong, but not taking it that hard and going like, we'll get you there, get you further.
I love that. I think that there's a variety of different levels that you all are at and experiences that you had. So I think it's super important to be able to display all of those different backgrounds and diverse experiences. So thank you to the three of you for sharing. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next set of questions. So these are related to unexpected roles. So what is something that's a part of your job that you never thought you would be doing? And then on the second piece of that, what has your work looked like in light of COVID-19 and maybe some transitions you've experienced? So this time around, we're going to begin with Rish.
Sure. Thank you, Cass. What is some part? Okay. Initially, I never thought I would be doing the role I am currently doing. So I always thought that I would be on the side of engineering and stay fully into technology development, and never have to deal with the executive side of things or discuss things with customers directly. But that's as the role shaped on and as years added on, and I got some gray hair, so which are very few still. But so I think that part came along. I never expected that in the beginning of my career. I did not think I would be doing that. And COVID-19. Well, for the most part, our operations overall, work-wise, is similar because our activities are mostly on the computer, so we can continue doing it online. What has broken away is the team spirit that we could feel every day at work. That when we see everybody and we're all working together and at least in the same building, if not the same room, it's always easier to call in a creative meeting and resolve something. Right now, it would be, you'd have to make sure and check everyone's available on the calendar, because right now we're doing independent scheduling, although it's still aligned to the same goals and milestones, but our schedules have become independent. So that is one thing that has changed in COVID-19. And also that our customers and our client relationships have been much more demanding during this period. So that's that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of our routines and the way that we engage with our colleagues and things have changed in light of COVID-19, but thank you for that perspective. And then let's go, Caitlin. Want to take this stab at this?
I am happy to take a stab at this. One part of my role that I never thought I would be doing is actually drafting plans. A lot of times in classes, they focus on just teaching you how to do the math and how, yeah, you'll pick all this stuff out and then someone else will put it together into something. And as I'm designing bridges, I am doing all the math and they're like, yeah, but what does it look like? Can you draw it up for us drafting? And that was not something that I was really expecting to have to do. It was really fun to learn. I'm not the best at it, but we have some very patient CAD people who are helping me. And what my work looks like in light of COVID-19, not that different actually, because most of my work is done at a desktop, other than the fact that I am now with beautiful blinds behind me, working at home. And also my hours kind of got shot because we are now able to work all the time because we're always home. So I've worked some very long hours right now because the government still wants their bridges built. And so we're still working.
I love that. Yeah, I think something that my colleagues and I have talked about is that, yeah, I feel like we're working longer days because we can, right? We're doing it all in the same space for the most part. So that's an interesting perspective too. Thanks for sharing. And then last but not least, Vaughn, go ahead and take it away.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. I can get into all the different stuff from a work perspective, but for, what do you want to say, weird stuff that you never thought you would get into. Subcontract technical representative. We buy a lot of stuff for the government. And part of buying stuff for the government is you've got to make sure that you're not going to get taken advantage of. So you use your technical background and your engineering degree to make sure that you're getting the products and services that you're paying for. And that's probably, if you look at a risk register, one of the biggest things. They talk about, oh yeah, transfer risk. When you're the responsible party for the risk transfer, you've got to make sure that you're getting what you're buying. And a lot of the times that means going out to a vendor location and accepting it at the source before it gets to your location to put it together. Because we do a lot of stuff out at the test site. I don't know if you've been out to Mercury, but we have something, it's bigger than the state of Rhode Island, so it is like its own third world country. And you have everything from water towers to roads to runways to power lines, all kinds of stuff. And you buy stuff from vendors and you have it delivered out there and you want to make sure it's going to fit. So you pretty much have to do the storyboarding and make sure everything's going to be right before you get it. And you want to get it in the order you need it. You don't want to get stuff and then have it set out there and rot in the weather, because there's not that much, what do you want to say? It's hard to store stuff out there and keep it clean and safe. So that's probably the biggest thing. Let's see, going on to the COVID-19 thing. Rish had it down. I mean, the people and the scheduling and the meetings, trying to coordinate things is really difficult. We have set meetings that you attend, and everything's televideo with the computers, and I've got pretty good bandwidth here, so my stuff seems to work okay. Lots of different computer issues when they push patches or they push virus mitigation things. That's another big thing. One of the weird things, I think that was something Caitlin was talking about, was hours of operation and customer interaction. The client we have is in DC, so we're a 3-hour difference. I start work at 5 in the morning and I end up working till like 8 o'clock at night. It's crazy working at home. So yeah, the customer really wants their stuff done. So anyway, those are the big things.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Like all of you echo, we've changed and we've transitioned, but I think the whole intention behind these questions is, sometimes a part of your job, whether it's because of COVID-19 or because of, the dynamic and nature of your role, you're going to be doing things that maybe you weren't anticipating, some that you enjoy and some that you don't. So I appreciate y'all's feedback on that one. Let's go ahead and transition to professional development. So the first question is, what are effective strategies for seeking a position in this field? So let's just start there. I'll have each of you answer those questions, and then we'll move on to the second one because they're a little bit less closely related. So let's just tag you right back in. Vaughn, what are some effective strategies for seeking a position in your field?
Going to work for the government is difficult. Now, we are a subcontract to the government. The way the Department of Energy works is we have 100 feds here, federal employees, that oversee the contract, and there's about 2,800 of us that work at the contract. So you can go to USA Jobs and you can apply there, and it's long and arduous, or you can go to Mission Support and Test Services or the Nevada National Security site, and you can apply there. So for seeking a position here, we also have internships. So you can go to the NNSS website and you can apply for an internship. And we have over 100 intern positions, and those were from last year. And what we're doing this year is we're going to do televideo remote internships. So we're still going to do the internships. They're just not going to be physically here until the COVID-19 thing goes away. And then we'll be able to do that. But yeah, the big thing for our stuff is, go to the government, like I said, USA Jobs, or go to the NNSS website and click on jobs, because there's Mission Support and Test Services, there's SOCs, another vendor. There's a myriad of vendors that are out here working for the government, and they're all pretty good paying jobs, and they all have longevity, so it's not like a flash in the pan.
Great. I love to hear that your internships are sort of transitioning to remote in this sort of unstable time. So that's good to know. And I think that's really great information for our participants today. Let's do Rish. Why don't you go ahead and take the next step?
Sure. Effective strategies. I would think there's a couple of things to be addressed there. It'd be, first, you'd have to determine what kind of position you're looking for, whether it's an internship or full-time or a contractor position. Those are the first, preliminary things to be determined. But in the technology world, I think the most effective way to land into the field is, getting your online portfolio and online presence well set up. And that just makes it easier for employers or other partners that may seek you out to validate your credentials or to look at a lot of your projects online. So that helps them to get some basic information prior to doing an interview. And you know, you have to make sure your resume also. I'm sure career services is you know, they fine-tuned and walked you through multiple sessions of this. You know, based on the job, you should definitely tune your resume for that, because otherwise there's like, so we posted a job about a month ago, I think, for an internship, and there was about 8,000 applications. But sorting through those applications, when we do filtration, you know, it just sheds a lot of them, and it may be that one of the resumes in there might be of an individual that is very talented and very, you know, very perfect for that job, very suitable for that job. Sorry. So, but just because of a filtration or just because of the number of applications that come in, it becomes hard to sort out through that. So it's very important that you know, work with the career services and work to fine tune your resume so that it comes up. So that is a very effective strategy. And you know, along with that, I'd say be well prepared for what the industry, whatever industry it is that you're applying to. You know, you got to be fine attuned to what the current developments are. So if your company that you're applying for is, you know, if they're focusing on whether it be government contracting or whether it be, you know, space sciences, space technology, or cutting edge technologies, depending on whatever they do, you have to understand what the current ongoing topic is. Like the U.S. Space Force started this year, so we're starting to do some development with them on that. So we also as companies need to know that. And if you come in as a candidate and you know that already, that just tells the employer that, you know, that you are very well accustomed and you have the potential to learn and be right on top of this. And I think the next here is trade journals, magazines of professional. If you're a part of your college, your school's science and technology group, I'm sure that is one thing to be noted. Along with that, there's IEEE, whether it be engineering or technology. This is for both. There's IEEE, there's ACM, and I forget, there's another one with math. I think it's CM, I think SIM, if I'm not wrong. So there's a few of these that if you're student members in there, you'll have access to a lot of publications. And you'll also be able to connect with a lot of people on there. And then there's definitely LinkedIn, as I'm sure all of you or most of you must be on it. So I think those are some of the things that I can tell right now. But we'll take questions later along with these all.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's good feedback related to both of the questions. And then Caitlin, I believe, we'll go ahead and let you take the opportunity. Go ahead and answer both questions, and then we'll have Vaughn answer the last one.
Okay. I have been in the job market more recently than the other two panelists. They seem to be very secure in their positions. Honestly, I applied to a ton of companies. I applied to a lot of them, and I changed my resume, not for each one, but depending upon what focus they were. My current job focuses on bridges, so I changed my resume to highlight the fact that I have taken bridge courses and I've taken seismic courses, and I knew that sort of thing in my resume. I also applied for smaller companies. It's really fun to apply for, you know, JT4 or for, you know, the big names. But honestly, at least with engineering, since I have to try to get a professional degree, it's better to get experience than to be out of work for months and months while you're trying to get that dream job. Because as a professional engineer, I've been told it's far easier to find opportunities than as an EIT. But it's also fun to work for smaller companies because you get kind of niche projects. I worked on sound walls, which was fun. And I think that it's also important to remember that there are government jobs and there are internships, and there are your professors who are working with government contracts or working with smaller companies that can also hook you up with that, and your classmates also might be working. We have a couple who are working at Horrocks who are attending UNLV, who could help you find a way to get into it, because we usually talk to our current employees about who to hire or get the word out that we're hiring. So make friends, talk to your classmates. Trade journals, magazines, and professional associations. I'm a member of Tau Beta Pi, which is the Engineering Honor Society at UNLV as alumni. That's a good one because they actually connect you with people outside of UNLV. It's a national organization, and it looks good because it's the Honor Society, so you should have good grades to be in it. ASCE, the American Society of Civil Engineering, is also a good one. UNLV students will know them for the canoe, the concrete canoe that they make every semester. Maybe not this one because you can't go to the lake. Those are good ones because they associate you with professionals, students, and also they're fun. They help you, remind you that engineering is not just studying for hours and hours and hours a day. It is meant to be fun and interact with other human beings. But honestly, the resume is an important thing. And, you know, if you don't get your position when you apply, if you get rejected, do send an email that's very politely like, thanks for the opportunity of at least looking at my resume, because industry professionals talk to each other. So if they notice that you were polite in the field, they will share that with other people in their field.
Yeah, I think that's exceptional feedback from both of you, all of you. And then Vaughn, do you have any recommendations for journals, magazines, associations that would be helpful for your field?
Well, Rich got the one with the IEEE. That was a big one that we have here. A lot of the stuff that we do is DOD, DOE specific, Department of Energy, Department of Defense, those, and also Department of Homeland Security, because we do all those things at the site. So these are areas that we're always looking at to support their latest cause. So you can go out there and look for their request for proposals. Anyway, that's the stuff that we do on our end.
Great. Thank you, all of you, for your recommendations. We're going to transition to the last set of questions, and this is related to just overall advice. So what I'm going to have you do this time is you can read through these questions. I'm going to read them out loud as well. You can tackle all three of them in your response. You can tackle one of them, two of them. It's totally up to you. I'm going to, of course, call on you. But these are the three questions we sort of want you to address. What is something that you wish you would have known before going into the field? What's one mistake that you made in your career, and what did you learn? And if you could do it all over again, would you choose this path again? I believe I began with each of you a lot of different times. So let's just tag Caitlin in because that sounds fun.
Okay, I mean, I'll go. What I wish I would have known before going into this position, I think I knew a lot of it because I have talked to a lot of my professors and they were very upfront with what engineering was going to be like, and that you're going to do a lot of hours, you're going to do a lot of work, and that what I would have liked to know before I got into this field was kind of just, despite the fact that, you know, it's so broad, it also is very narrow. Most of my supervisors, if they work on bridges, that's what they work on. They're not likely to be called on to build a 16-story building. Like, they get their focus and that's what they focus on, which is good to know, and also kind of a little sad because I love a lot of things, but also it's fun to know that you're going to focus on something. A mistake I made in my career, and what did I learn? I did not do an internship. I never interned with any company that did engineering. I never even, you know, did an unpaid internship, as terrible as those are, and you should never do those. I did not make that entry. So when I came in and they asked me if I'd ever interned with a company, if I'd ever done engineering in a professional setting, my answer had to be no. Luckily, I had a master's degree, which kind of overrode that. I clearly had more experience and knowledge, but I would definitely tell everyone to do an internship, and they should be paid. They should be paid internships. Please don't do unpaid unless it's for college credit, which is slightly different. And if I could do it all over again, would I choose this path again? 100%. I love my job. I love everything that I'm doing. I love that I'm working hundreds of hours a week. I think it's, well, not a week, every 2 weeks. But I love it 100%. I think it's great that, you know, and few years maybe, one of my bridges would be built. And I like that there's going to be a result and that everyone else that I'm working with is having so much fun doing what we're doing. There's no one at my work that hates what we're doing, and that's just made this so much more fun for me. And I definitely would, barrel down this path again, maybe with an internship the next time.
I love the way that you answered all of those questions. I think you give a lot of very relatable experiences in there, provide a lot of good advice and things like that. So thank you, Caitlin. And then let's go ahead and go with Vaughn.
Okay, what is something I wish I would have known before going into this field? I wish I had known it existed. Okay, I started out in electronics, then I went into aircraft, and now I'm into, nuclear stuff and nuclear forensics. The diverse portfolio that you have where I'm currently working, like I said, you just have to stay in a job a year, and after that you can go to another job. Upward mobility is insane, and the pay's great, and you're never bored. That is probably the coolest thing about what I'm doing currently with the National Nuclear Security Administration. And then you say, what's the one mistake I made? I should have picked this first, but I didn't even know. I'm telling you, even when I was in the Air Force and they had nuclear weapons, I didn't know what these guys did. And they do everything for the government. They do work for others. So you're not just stuck working for the Department of Energy. You work for, like, I did the Joint Improvised Explosive Device Defeat Organization. So for like 4 years, while our folks were over in Afghanistan getting blown up, we were out at the test site figuring out how to keep it from happening. So you're doing good things for God and country. You're making a difference. And I just wish that I had known that to start with, because I would have started out here in my career first. And when I do it all over again, you bet I would. This is a great place to work. It's fun.
I love hearing that none of you regret your career path. It's exactly what we want to hear to these, tell these young engineers and tech young professionals, because I know that it's challenging getting there, especially like getting through coursework and training and stuff like that. So Rish, go ahead and take the floor.
Thank you. Yes. Something I would have known before going in the field, that it was so ever changing and so rapidly changing. That is something I wish I would have definitely known before, because when I started, I was really super focused on continuing to do what I was doing, and I think I can relate, like Juan was saying, that he wished he picked the nuclear job first, and just something similar. But I think I wish I would have known that it's so ever changing, because literally every, not every day, but every week there is new technologies, and it just adds to the horizontal vastness of this field. And it's just you can always expand and expand your portfolio, like pretty much unlimited. And that's something I really, if I would have known that also relates to the mistake that I think I made, is not fully planning out a career roadmap. And I think that's just because I just didn't know how vast this could be. So that is if something. If something I wish I would have known. Also, is that other people in the field are helpful. So you just need to go and discuss with them and talk to them, and they'll definitely support you and get you up, because it's not a saturated field. It's everyone's trying to grow and help each other grow. So that's always there, and that goes with the mistake in the career. So like I said, I never planned out a full career roadmap, although everything fell into place and propagated very well, I think. And but that I feel is something that happened due to excessive work hours being put in through the last 10 years. So that's something I really feel that all of you should do some kind of planning and due diligence on the entire field, so that you can plan better and jump into a position that you'd like to continue with. And yes, I would definitely absolutely do it all over again, with the addition of the planning part. That's the only thing I would add to it. But other than that, I would absolutely do it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So this is a really great time for us to transition into open forum Q&A. So the audience members and those that are participating in today's session, go ahead and drop any questions that you have for our lovely panelists in the chat box. I will read the question, and then I'll just allow whoever wants to take it to sort of say like, hey, I'll take this one. And of course, you all are able to piggyback off of each other and add some more information. But we're going to wait for some questions to stream into the chat, do some open Q&A, and then we'll close things out in the next 15 or so minutes. So the first question is going to be, what is something that you wish you had been taught in your classwork or your coursework or maybe training? It can either be a technical skill or a life topic that you wish you had been taught in school or training.
I'll jump on that one. I wish I'd been taught more drafting, honestly, because I didn't know any drafting. I didn't know this, that sort of thing when I entered my job. A life skill that I really wish that they had taught us a little bit better is how to balance all of the work, because it's really a bad habit of mine from engineering is that I will focus on one task until that's completed, which in the real world, that's not how they want their projects done. They want everything lining up to end at the same time. So that would have been really helpful if they had taught us a little bit better about scheduling, but that could just be me.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Does anyone else want to, +1 to Caitlin, anyone else want to chime in?
Vaughn here. I would say if I had the opportunity, I would have done a lot more software training when I was in college, because like I said, when I got stuck on aircraft, you basically, it's on-the-job training. So you're trying to do your job and learn how to do your job simultaneous to doing your job. And like Caitlin's talking about, you're juggling all these other things at the same time. You're trying to learn this specialty that you didn't know, kind of like the drafting bit.
Yeah, I think those are a lot of really fair feedback. Reish, do you have anything you want to add to it before we move to the next question?
Sure. Just to add on to one, then one, thank you for adding that. And I think all the graduates and all the students that are joined with us today, I think whichever field, whichever industry you're in, basic software skills or software development or something technical for that matter will always help you, and it'll definitely give you an edge over, other people that are in the industry and other people that are joining with you in your year.
Great. Thank you for the three of you for sharing. It looks like we got another question. So the question is, what are your tips or suggestions for surviving or thriving in your quote unquote freshman year of your career?
Well, I guess I can start that one. I would say the big thing is listen, understand what's being required of you, and work to achieve that. Try not to get off the reservation too far. We have some really phenomenal folks from UNLV out at the test site, and we've got a lot of capital projects going on, be it running monster water lines or drilling other drifts for more underground experiments. But that's probably the biggest. You don't want to get too far out in front of the headlights.
And I'll jump on to that since I am currently in my freshman year of my career.
There you go.
The important thing is to remember that when someone tells you you did something incorrectly your freshman year, it's not meant to be a point on your character. It's you did something wrong. We need to correct it so that in the future, when we leave you alone as an adult, you do it correctly. If you do math incorrectly or you forget a concept, it's not a like, oh my God, you're so stupid. I can't believe that you did, we hired you. It's everyone forgets this. Let's make sure we got the basics down, and that we're going to make sure next time you're good to go and that nothing happens. Because when you're starting off, they want you to succeed. They didn't hire you to fail. They hired you to succeed, and they want to put the time and capital into you succeeding. So it's really, you know, calm down. It's very easy to get freaked out that like, they're going to fire me. They're not going to fire you, probably. You're going to need to just breathe, get through it. And it's a much happier environment once you relax a little bit and you do a lot better work.
I think I'll add another comment to that is, you know, always work on team, like it depends on different teams. Every team has a different communication dynamic. So always whenever you're getting into a new job or, you know, freshman year of your job or in the industry, make sure you always learn the communication preference of your teams and keep that, like keep communicating with them, over communicate if necessary, and also understand, like Juan said initially, listen. That's very important to listen, because then you'll have an understanding of the lay, you'll have the lay of the land, and that'll help you walk through the next many years of your career. And another COVID-19 addition would be to make sure you're you know, you're always ready and your schedule is available for your team. That's something you definitely want to have in the first year.
Wonderful. Thank you to the three of you for that feedback. I think kind of what Caitlin was talking about is like you sort of experience this imposter syndrome. Like you don't know if maybe you're good enough to be in the space that you're in or to be in the role that you're in when you're a newer professional. And so, yeah, like we echo, you know, all three of you. But like Caitlin said, don't be completely afraid that you're going to get fired or anything, because the likelihood is they do want you to succeed in that role. And so I think that was all really good advice for your freshman sort of year of your career. It looks like we have another question in the chat. So do you have a mentor? If yes, what has been their role in your career? I'm going to wait for somebody to like unmute. Oh, Vaughn. Okay, it looks like you unmuted, but so did Caitlin. So Vaughn, Caitlin, and then Rich, if you
I
want
don't
to add.
have a mentor. When I was at the Skunk Works out in California, aircraft, there was a very, very seasoned engineer that took me under his wing. So I learned a heck of a lot from him. It's what is it? Experience comes from, how does that quote go? What is it, Mark Twain? Good decisions come from experience. Experience comes from making bad decisions. And this guy, Ron Kreese, was my mentor. And I probably spent 3 years under him before I really had my act together when it came to deciding what you're going to fix and not fix and what can be let go, because you don't want the airplane to crash. So anyway, there's my 2 cents. Go for it, Caitlin.
Okay. I do not have a mentor in this field. I had Lynn Metters, who was my supervisor when I was working at UNLV, who was a mentor and helped me figure out like what I was doing and helped me have some confidence in the, yes, you are good at what you're trying to do, calm down, which is important. And that's also important to remember, is your mentor doesn't have to be in your field. You can have someone who is just your cheerleader and helping you get through college and helping you get into that initial position. I have my bosses and supervisors are mentoring me in what I'm doing, but they are more in the teaching role than they are a mentor. But you know, it's very important to make sure you find someone who's your cheerleader and also will tell you that is a dumb plan and be honest with you about it.
I did not also have a dedicated mentor of sorts, but like Juan, I think in my when I started with computer maintenance, there was a very senior gentleman that I used to work with closely, and that's how I got a very grasp over, you know, a very nice grasp over the industry at the time, and that gave me the confidence to go out and seek more challenging technologies and build on from that point onwards. And for a short time in between, Steve Ballmer from Microsoft was in close discussion. Like we were basically going back and forth on a few things, and it was like mentoring, but not exactly like a mentor. But those are the 2 I can mention.
Yeah, I think that's all really great. Caitlin, I especially love your example, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in your field, right? It can be somebody who's cheerleading or Rish, said they're kind of like unofficial mentors, but people who just kind of instilled that sense of confidence in you. And then Vaughn, you just sort of mentioned along the way, these different people that maybe you sort of idolized or just really enjoyed their work or what they were doing and wanted to learn from them. These are people and, places that you can tap into while you're transitioning into your career or you're, into your career and trying to learn new things. And so I think all of this was really incredible feedback. If you have any other questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat. As far as contacting our office, a few times some of the panelists mentioned, contacting career services and having your resume reviewed or, having somebody help build confidence in you. That's something that we can do in the career services office. So, feel free to book an appointment or visit our website and tap into the resources that are available to you as UNLV students and alumni. We do serve all of our alumni, no matter how long it's been since they've graduated. So definitely utilize those resources. But panelists, if you have anything or any last thoughts to share, I encourage you to chime in now. And we have about 8 minutes left. And then if there's nothing left, then we'll go ahead and wrap things up for the day.
I don't know how many of the people watching are women in engineering. And I will just say, as I have taken my master's courses and I was the only one female of 10 people in a classroom, 50 people in a classroom, 100 people in a classroom, that there are a lot of women in our field. It just doesn't look like it when you're in college. I have plenty of female coworkers that work with me in different offices of my company, and that you definitely can make it through, and that it's all fun and great, and there will be female mentors that come to you through this time frame. And also just to have fun in engineering. It's hard science and it's really demanding, but it's a lot of fun if you let it be fun.
I echo that. I may not be a female engineer, but I do understand that sort of experience. Any other last minute thoughts or anything?
I would add that, Risha, I would add while the downtime, while everyone's applying for jobs or, building towards that, I think you should make best use of this time and add more projects that you can, as many projects as you can to your portfolio, and start discussing with your peers or people that you may know, like senior people in the field you're trying to go, and discuss with them if there's anything on the side, like something like an internship, if you can do it online, or if not an internship, a project that you can build on to add, because those projects will definitely count. And this is, what better time to do it than now while you're locked in.
Yeah, that's very true. Like I said, go out to our website and check out the jobs we have, because we have a lot of job openings right now.
That's a great plug. Thank you. And thank you to all three of you for offering up an hour of your time. I know it's not always easy, especially during COVID. And I'm sure all of the participants appreciated, your experience and your feedback and all of that good stuff. If you want, you're welcome to drop your information in the chat if you're willing to have participants reach out to you. Please definitely do that. But, at this time, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our first Thursday Thoughts with Industry Professionals. This was an incredible place to start, and I'm looking forward to this to continuing to grow from here and also engaging with the three of you in the future. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.